and let's talk about Julian Baker right now, a member of the band Boy Genius, which
Super group.
we gave uh, review on back when they dropped their EP of the same name. Check that out. And I believe we also talked about Julian Baker just a few short years ago, back in 2017, which is now actually 4 years ago. Kind of crazy to think about.
Coming up, yeah.
With her second album, Turn Out the Lights. But she's back with Little Oblivions, which, if you're following the Boy Genius tree like thing, having a better Oblivion community club or
Center.
whatever center,
Hmm.
and then Little Oblivions afterwards, just feels like they're trying to confuse us a little bit.
That's
I
good.
appreciate it though. Yeah, so Julian Baker, I think, is probably the second most famous member of Boy Genius. Lucy Dacus, all respect, but just hasn't gotten the same I don't know, acclaim, I'd say, in
Mhm.
the indie sphere. Obviously, Bridgers is the one in that group, the number one seed at the moment. But after this release, I think we might be talking about more of a competition. How did you like Little Oblivions, Dave?
I did like it. I think it's continuing the trend we've been talking about for a while. There's just a lot of badass women in indie rock, and they're making some of the best stuff right now. No question.
Yeah,
Talked about
for
Soccer
sure.
Mommy and Phoebe last year. Better Blooming Community Center 2019. Boy Genius, Dacus, Snail Mail. It's becoming a longer and longer list, and they just like it feels like an event release. Like this is probably one of the biggest releases on Matador this year.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think the thing listening to this album from Baker is, we talked about Turn Out the Lights. That's a very like singer songwriter acoustic-y album with some flourishes. You start to see her play around with sounds a little bit more, have some really nice touches. This is really her bringing in a lot more sound, a lot more band, just really building out what she's doing, and it feels like she's really moving into her own, like a next stage of her career as an artist, which is really exciting, especially if you've ever gone back and like heard any of I've only heard a couple of the main hit songs off Sprained Ankle, her debut in 2015 when she was only, I think, 19 at the time, so or maybe 20. And that's very much like piano or guitar. That's like about it on the track. So she's really building it out now, and I think there's a lot of really great songs that make the really heavy lyrics throughout a lot more
Mhm.
palatable. And you start off with Hard Line right away, which is like, there's a lot of different sounds going on there, and I think almost like intentionally supposed to be jarring in a sense as you listen to a Julian Baker album, and it subverts all your expectations. But what other tracks moving forward really stood out to you or grabbed you?
Yeah, honestly, I think Hardline was the biggest standout to me just because the instrumentation really does stand out. And
Mhm.
apart from some Boy Genius background vocals on Favor,
It's
Julian
her.
Baker made this whole album herself. There weren't session musicians. She played guitar, she played piano, she even played drums, which she says she's not that great at.
Mhm.
She did everything else. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she mixed it, but like in terms of what you hear, it's all Julian except for one song. And that's really cool to me. And I think that she does a good job because I like this a lot more than Turn Out the Lights because of I think the more sound going on to it.
Mhm.
Just because, as people know, this is not usually my speed. This type of rock, but I think it actually, like you said, it stays lively despite the fact that this is very much indie rock with like touches of emo. You know, like
Yeah.
it is some deeper stuff. Her speaking to her addiction issues and
Mhm.
recently relapsing after being sober for like 6 years. So there are some heavy themes here,
For sure.
as to be expected from Julian Baker. But I think, as you said, she does a really good job of I think making it sound uh, engaging and interesting the whole runtime.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we all know that she's just a great songwriter. I think lyrically, she's incredibly strong in some of the metaphors that she used. Like one point, she was talking about um, a potential like suicide attempt, and she talks about like tying like the galaxy or like the Milky Way around her neck like a noose or something like that, and like just like feeling that weight of the world as she's going through this relapse, just really strong. By the way, just wanted to say that the mixing was done by someone different, and but it's only like four people outside of the Boy Genius girls that helped her out with this. Really impressive. And you mentioned the drums. Actually, one of my favorite tracks off this was Bloodshot, which is right in the middle of the album. And I really love the drums on that. The way that they mixed them, it sounds like it's kind of like coming in and out from one ear to the other, like very slowly going back and forth, kind of made this like metronome feel to the track that I thought was really unique. Also really like the song Repeat. I feel like that's maybe her strongest like vocal performance, because I you can really hear, I think, like the pain and anguish that she's trying to get through, feeling like her like life is kind of on repeat sometimes with some of the pain and the experiences that she's going through, especially related to her recent relapse. So I mean, front to back, this is a really strong album. But you mentioned Favor. Did that track stand out to you? Did you notice that that was a Boy Genius song,
No, I
basically?
didn't notice it
No.
until
Yeah.
reading it after.
I noticed it only because I noticed that there was a different vocal. So I was like,
Okay,
there's got
yeah.
to be someone. I didn't pick out that it was Lucy and Phoebe, but looking it up, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's one of the stronger tracks as well. So we'll definitely be adding that to our Spotify Best of 2021 playlist. Check that out in the show notes. Any last thoughts, Dave, before we move on from Julian?
She's a badass.
Yeah, she really is. Definitely check her music out. She's great.